Hi, this is Joe Welinske, and I'm the program manager for what will be the second annual Northwest Technical Communication Conference coming up in Tacoma, Washington, September 7th and 8th. And I'm speaking with many of the presenters who will be at the conference. And today I'm talking with Rick Stone. Hi, Rick. How you doing?
How's it going, Joe? Good to be with you.
Everything's great. I'm actually in my home office in Seattle, or actually Vashon Island today. Where are you speaking to me from?
I'm coming to you from the great state of the great state of Missouri, specifically Kansas City.
All right. Well, for people that may not be familiar with your work, why don't you just tell us a little bit about your background and the types of things that you're involved with on a regular basis?
Okay. Yeah, I'm involved with Adobe and some other software products, have been for a long, long time. Well, I was born, no, I'm teasing about that. Years ago, I worked in a call center, and I saw a need to develop some online reference materials. And that led me to discover a product. Was initially going to go with something called Doc to Help, which is still exists today, as I understand it. But ended up with a product called RoboHelp, and it's been through several different owners now. But that started back in like 1992. So I've been with the product since version 2 and been a happy user. I love developing help systems and content. Basically, I develop reference material for a call center environment. So people would call in and need to troubleshoot like communications lines or hardware, ticket printers, stuff like that. That's where I kind of cut my teeth on the whole technical writing aspect. I didn't really know it as that at the time I joined it. But played with this product forever, it seems like now. Still love it, still play with it every day today. Deal a lot with answering forum questions. I've been part of communities supporting this stuff for many, many years. Primarily discovered them around the year 2000. I got hired into a job because of my RoboHelp skills. And at the time, I didn't know, I wasn't really quite aware that there were two RoboHelp components. I was familiar with the RoboHelp for Word at the time. And suddenly I was thrust in the situation of, oh my gosh, they're using RoboHelp HTML and I didn't know RoboHelp HTML. So I had to bone up quick on it, and I found that forum participation was the way to learn it for me. I scanned the forums to see what kind of issues people were having, and then learned from the responses I saw. And then I decided the best way I could learn the product would be to choose one question every day that nobody seemed to know the answer to, and see if I could figure it out. And lo and behold, man, it didn't take very long. I'm answering most of the questions around here. So I'm still involved with the product today. Departed the corporate world in 2004 and was catapulted into the wonderful world of unemployment. What are we going to do next? And did a little bit of contract work. And while doing that, I was requested to suggest a product to create tutorials. And that's where Adobe Captivate now entered the picture. But was familiar with, at the time it was, came from Robo Demo because the RoboHelp people owned it, and then it shifted into Macromedia, temporarily, briefly owning things, and that's where Captivate entered the picture. And, the contract was really short term. It was supposed to be like 2 weeks. Don't even ask, not even going to be longer than 2 weeks. But as they discovered more and more what I was capable of doing, they kept extending it. And someone suggested I'd maybe think about teaching the products. They're like, I know you know the stuff inside and out. Have you ever thought about teaching it? And I was like, no, it sounds like fun. So that's primarily what I do now. For a number of years, I think I got certified initially in 2005. So I've been teaching these products for a little over 10 years, I guess now. Still working with Adobe Captivate. I actually work with Adobe a lot, get to go to conferences, much like the one we're about to have, staffing Adobe's booth and answering questions and actually facilitating sessions, teaching people how to use different aspects of the products. I do find that they integrate nicely, of course, they want them to do that. So I don't know if that answers your question. But
yeah, that's great. Your sessions, you're actually be doing two sessions related to Adobe multimedia workflows using Adobe products and getting to know new features of Adobe RoboHelp, and Adobe is one of our foundation sponsors for the conference. Without getting into like specifics of the sessions you're going to talk about, I was just wondering if from your teaching and your project work, what lately do you see coming up as questions from your students, challenges that maybe are ones that are recurring, or maybe some things that you find that are relatively new that are presenting new challenges to our community of technical communicators? If you have any thoughts in those areas.
I actually do. I've observed, I've been part of many, many different discussion groups. You've got something out there called Tech Whirlers. You've got the help authoring tools and techniques, the Hat List. I've been part of those for a long, long time. There's an Israeli technical writing list, and then of course the Adobe user-to-user support forums and any other forums that I find, I like to try and help if I can. I kind of jokingly call these holy wars. You see people with these holy wars erupt. You have people in two camps, and they're very adamant about the way they do things. And actually did a session recently in, it was in near Washington, where STC was having a conference, and I did a session on how to blend multimedia type stuff with RoboHelp. But basically these holy wars, you got a group of people that are very adamant that imagery should not be in documentation. Like, golly, they got the software in front of them. They don't need an image to help them out. And then you have another camp of people that are just as adamant that images can help you. You know where you are in the application. But where I see this heading is more toward the multimedia. I think so much of our content anymore is headed, with video as a platform. And I know that with technical writing, I think that it kind of lags behind a little bit as far as that goes, as far as like trends. But I see more and more, at least, with my ear to the ground as much as it can be, I think video and multimedia are going to play nothing but larger and larger roles. Instead of having a page that, has like 5 or 10 folds to it, if you will, on the electronic world, you can have a video that just keeps you in the same place. And you're not having to scroll around and hunt and figure out, am I looking at the right thing? You can pause it, you can rewind it. So that's why I kind of like to focus on the multimedia aspect. I think that's really ultimately where we're headed with so many different things.
Are there any other things that that you've observed that common questions that come up, or unique challenges that people are presented with?
Yeah. One of the unique challenges I see at the moment is with legacy type systems. You've got a lot of people that are taking content, we've got this whole world of mobile technology and mobile devices. And I'm so happy that Adobe took the route that they have finally. They initially came out with this thing called multi-screen output from RoboHelp, in which you had, people would complain before about all the files involved with things like web help, and developers are going, do we really have to have all those files on the server? And well, yeah, only if you want it to work. And the multi-screen was compounding that by a factor of about 8 or 10. And so I'm really, really happy to see them head more toward the responsive output, where you've got one set of output files that just simply adapts to the environment that you're in. But I see a lot of people kind of struggling a little bit with upgrading RoboHelp and making that content work in this kind of brave new world. Not that it doesn't work reliably, but there's new things that have been added, things like variable sets and ways to manipulate and manage your content for a more efficient workflow. So that's kind of where I see some of the challenges, if you will, today, just and it's typical, just adapting to new features and figuring out how to make them work.
Well, thanks for taking this time to introduce yourself and talk about your work and some of the things going on in your world. And we'll see you when you arrive in the Tacoma, Washington area in just a couple of months.
Looking forward to it.
All right. Thanks a lot, Rick. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Joe. Bye-bye.